Number 15. Graveyard hide and seek. Have you ever played hide and seek in a graveyard? It's probably a good idea not to, as you'll learn from this scary story posted on Reddit by Prancing Unicorn. The Redditor says that she and her friends decided to play a late night game of hide and seek in an abandoned local graveyard in Australia, which had about 30 stones strewn amongst tall grass and trees. The occupants ranged from 5 years old to 80 years old, with the newest being over 70 years old. Though they first visited the place during the day, it took on a different form at night, one of horror, and so the game began. The Redditor hid near a fence in the long grass, and it took a while for anyone to find her. 10 minutes in and she heard nearby grass move. Being Australia, the girl knew that whatever was moving there could take her life, so she crouched near a stone so as to remain hidden, but also be in a position of defense. She waited there and felt the temperature noticeably drop. Then, in her own words, "I feel someone touch my shoulder. The voice of a 5-year-old girl whispers right next to my ear, 'You're it.' Yeah, no, get out of there as quickly as possible." That's what the girl did, screaming the whole way. She told her friends what happened, and they all raced down the hill to the gate. Looking back up at the graveyard, the Redditor claims they saw a young girl in old clothes playing amongst the stones. "Fastest I have ever run in my life," she writes. "I don't blame you." Number 14. Hide and seek gone bad. Jacqueline V shared this paranormal car-based hide and seek story. She and her friends were playing hide and seek in their cars around town. One of their friends hid their car in a driveway on the abandoned property of what used to be a mental hospital. When Jacqueline and her partner couldn't find them, they called them to see where they were. The others flashed their headlights, after which they started to return to town. Strangely, their radio suddenly turned on. When Jacqueline turned it off, it turned on again. It did this repeatedly. Then the car's headlights turned off. They pulled into a store parking lot and called the others, who returned to find the car's headlights blinking on and off on their own. When they told their friends what had happened, the others didn't believe them. They wanted to return to the driveway of the old mental hospital, so they did in their friend's car. When they got there, the car shut off and wouldn't restart. It took them 10 minutes to get it back going. Curiosity got the best of them, and the next night they decided to return to another area of the mental hospital. When one of their friends went to turn the doorknob, someone started knocking on the other side. Who was it? Was someone squatting in the abandoned hospital and trying to scare them off? I guess we'll never know for sure. Number 13. Summer camp. What's more fun than playing hide and seek at camp? You'll find out that almost anything is. This story takes us back to 1971 Camp Nook Creek, where a camp counselor decided to start a game of hide and seek with his campers. He was the first seeker, and he sent the campers out to hide. 2 hours later, and all the kids had been found, apart from James Lacey. As the hours ticked by, the game was called, and the campers were sent to bed, while the counselor searched for the remaining hider. James remained hidden. Even a police search didn't turn anything up. The camp ended up closing for the summer, and for years thereafter. 3 years later, a camp counselor was setting up the canoe area for new campers when he flipped over one of the canoes. A horrid smell filled the air. Beneath the canoe, he discovered James passed away. He had become trapped there, as was clear by the scratch marks on the underside of the wooden canoe. If this story is fully true, then this was a horrible event that every camp counselor should consider while setting up activities. Number 12. Storage locker. Sometimes the scariest and saddest hide and seek stories are not about the supernatural or mystery, but about the real life events that unfold during what should be a fun children's game. In 2011, a 10-year-old Phoenix girl was playing hide and seek with her cousins who were visiting. They played during the late night hours after the adults in the household had gone to bed. The 10-year-old loved to hide in difficult places. In fact, she was known for it. Phoenix Police Sergeant Trent Klump told the New York Daily News, "She has hidden before and took pride in not being found. She once hid beneath a barbecue unit, once hid in a dryer. This time she hid inside a storage locker made of wood and metal that was in the yard, and authorities believe she couldn't escape. She passed away in there due to lack of oxygen and wasn't found until the next morning by her family, who went searching for her. They tried to revive her with CPR, but she was pronounced passed away at the scene. A horrible event for this family serves as a reminder to others that life is precious and can be gone in an instant, even during an innocent game of hide and seek. Number 11. Dirty Feet, submitted by Maureen from the Philippines. This hide and seek will be sure to turn your stomach. Maureen was it as she played the game with her 3 cousins at her aunt's house. When she turned facing the door to count, she heard what she described as a creepy, high-pitched laugh. She thought it was her cousin, though it didn't sound quite like her. It sounded like someone laughing and crying at once. She continued counting and then started her search. After finding 2 of her cousins, they couldn't find the remaining one. They shouted for her to come out, that they'd given up. In her own words, after a moment of complete silence, we all heard a laugh, the same one I heard before, but it was coming from behind the curtains. We walked closer to the curtain and saw a pair of dirty feet sticking out. Maureen told her cousin to come out already, and from behind them her cousin did. She'd been hiding in the bathroom. Their hearts leapt in their chests as they turned back to the curtain and pulled it open. No one was there, but the laughter. Whose feet did they see? I guess we'll never know. Number 10. Ill-fated game. If child ghosts aren't enough to keep you out of the graveyard, this story should. A young couple and their child were playing hide and seek in Denmark's largest graveyard, in Copenhagen, when a headstone collapsed, taking the life of a 2-year-old. The child's parents called paramedics, but it was too late. The area was cordoned off as forensic teams examined the location. Kenneth Jensen, who investigated the matter, stated, the 24-year-old father and 23-year-old mother had gone to the graveyard to play with their son, as they often do. We will examine the site with our technicians. It's unclear if the stone was aged and had crumbled, or not secure in its foundation, or both. What is clear is that no good can come from playing in graveyards. Number 9. The Hand. 2 brothers were playing hide and seek while their parents were away. The older brother was it. He counted facing the wall while his little brother ran off to hide. The little brother must have been an expert hider because the older one couldn't find him. He spent ages looking everywhere for him until he heard a scraping sound coming from the cupboard. Must be him, he thought. He yelled out to his brother to no avail. Nothing but chilling silence. There was nothing left to do but open the cupboard. He walked toward it, bent down, reached for the handle, and bent lower to peer inside. That's when an icy cold hand reached out of the cupboard and grabbed him. Screaming in fright, he at first thought the hand was his brother's, but then he heard his younger brother yell out from behind him. Somehow the older brother broke free from the icy grasp and ran screaming out of the house, his younger brother in tow. The question remains, whose hand was in the cupboard? Number 8. Stravina Cave. Redditor INAAACE and his family had just moved to Montenegro from Bosnia. At about 9 years old, the Redditor had trouble adjusting to his new home, but eventually started making friends who liked to play hide and seek. One night, the Redditor's best friend Vesco suggested that they play in the nearby Stravina Cave, a place which was commonly off limits to children and was supposedly haunted or cursed. How so? One tale told that a homeless man had slept inside the cave and was found the next morning, having aged 30 years from sheer terror. The man allegedly never spoke of the horrors he'd experienced in Stravina that night. Even more sinister was the tale of a group of rebel children who fought the Turkish emperor during the 15th century. The Turkish emperor called for their heads, and when their headquarters in the Stravina Cave was discovered, the entire group was found headless. Of course, this modern group of hide-and-seekers didn't take heed of these scary stories, thinking them nothing more than myths and legends. And so the kids set out for Stravina Cave. They decided to alter the game a little. Once the seeker found someone, they'd try and guess who it was, and a correct guess would result in the old switcheroo. The seeker would also have to enter deep into the dark cave and spin around to disorient himself, and that certainly worked. Our Redditor was the first seeker. He spun around while counting to 10, and when he opened his eyes, he was completely lost. He couldn't find anyone and heard nothing but water dripping. After a while of searching, he finally came across someone who he thought was his neighbor Marina. After he guessed and received no response, he continued his search as per the rules. Shortly after, he heard heavy breathing behind him. He felt it on his neck. He thought it was his friend Vesco. He grabbed the person's shirt and felt that it was ripped in several spots. When he again received no response, he continued until he bumped into someone extremely cold. Although he reached down and felt the person's smiling face and guessed, there was still no response. Fed up, he decided to leave. On the way out of the cave entrance, he tripped, and his friend group started laughing. They were all standing there 20 yards outside of the cave. When the Redditor asked his friends how they'd beat him out of the darkness, they'd responded that they'd never gone in. The Redditor insisted to his friends that there were people inside the cave. When they wouldn't believe him, he responded to the mouth of Stravina. Though he couldn't see anyone, he felt them. And just as he was turning to leave, a cold, wet hand grabbed his arm and started to squeeze with vice-like grip. After a struggle, the Redditor managed to release the thing's grip before sprinting off, as his friends stood by laughing. "I never went back to Stravina Cave," he wrote. Neither would we under any circumstances. Number 7. The Man in the Window. Playing hide and seek outside with his cousin and a friend, Roy Bat Gaming entered an old abandoned house nearby to hide inside. He found the perfect spot upstairs in a closet and was waiting there for a half hour. When he fell asleep, he woke up to footsteps downstairs. At first he thought it was his friend, but the noise was erratic and the footsteps started racing up the stairs. Roy feared whatever it was, so he stayed quiet. The noises came right up to the closet and then they stopped. After a while, Roy opened the closet door, fearing for his life, but no one was there. He raced out of the house so fast that he only turned back to look. When he was back inside his uncle's house, what he saw was chilling. A man stared back from the window. Was he real or a ghost? With no other info provided, we may never know what was actually happening in that home. Number 6. The Imaginary Friend. Have you ever played a game with an imaginary friend? Redditor PM me for Small Talk has. She writes that when she was about 4 years old, she had an imaginary friend named Allie, an older girl, who she liked to play hide and seek in the backyard with. When the Redditor told her mom about Allie, her mother paled a bit and told her that Allie wasn't real. Flash forward about 12 years later, after the imaginary friend had left and the Redditor was now 16. Having spent many years playing hide and seek with Allie, she no doubt had come to the conclusion that she'd made Allie up, but did she? At 16, the girl's mom told her that before she was born, the mom had given birth to a girl who'd passed away of lung complications. The girl's name, Allie. In the Redditor's own words, "My mom tells me that it was probably all a coincidence since a divorce was going on during that time and I wanted a friend, but I still remember everything about Allie and I refuse to believe it was all pretend. I'm not sure if a ghost friend is any better than an imaginary one, but I guess we'll never know for sure if Allie was real or not." Number 5. The Laundry Room. John DeMacopoulos shared a scary hide-and-seek story with Viral Thread. At 3 a.m. one summer, John and his sister were playing a basement game of hide-and-seek. Of course, basements are innately scary, but apart from that, there was a boiler room in this one, and it would turn out a haunted laundry room. After checking the boiler room and coming up empty, John went to the laundry room. Instead of going in the room, he peeked through a hole in the wall to see if his sister was inside. Although he couldn't see her face, he saw her hiding in the room. He shouted her name, saying he'd found her. He told her to come out, but she wouldn't budge. He repeatedly shouted for about a minute, when suddenly his sister turned up behind him, scaring the nightmares out of him. They both had a meltdown, as they realized whoever was hiding in the laundry room was neither of them. They raced upstairs and told their mom, who, baseball bat in hand, accompanied them to the base. Number 4. One Man Hide and Seek. Have you heard of this game? Well, a lot of Redditors have. If you do a quick search, you'll find loads of stories about the game. For those who've never heard of it, here's a quick rundown. First off, it's a ritual for speaking with those in the afterlife. According to sources, the spirits which are wandering restless on the earth are always looking for bodies to possess. In this ritual, you will summon a spirit by offering it a doll instead of a human body. The ritual involves a stuffed doll and rice to put in it, and a needle and a red thread, a set of nail clippers, a knife or pair of scissors, salt, and a bathtub. Oh yeah, and a room with a TV in it, along with your hiding place. It is hide and seek after all. Well, I won't walk you through the entire step-by-step process. You're supposed to remove the doll stuffing, put some personal items in it, often fingernail clippings, fill it back up with rice and give it a name. Soon you'll be playing hide and seek with that doll, who will be it after you find the doll and put a knife through it. There's a lot of instructions for this game that you're supposed to follow to the T, or else something bad will happen. If it does, you may see something creeping around or strangeness happening to the TV. After completing the ritual successfully, you're supposed to burn the doll. With this all in mind, let's look at one Redditor's experience of One Man Hide and Seek. Posted by Apollo Lol, the Redditor used a Cookie Monster doll for the game, and he played it with his friend Nick. So not really one man hide and seek, off to a bad start. With Nick on board, the boys cut the doll open in his bedroom and followed the instructions, filling it with rice, sewing it up, and naming it Jeff. The problem was, the game is supposed to be played at 3 a.m. They did this all at 6 p.m. and then left the doll in Nick's room. When they returned at 2:55 a.m., they found the doll gone. Must have started the game of hide and seek early. They soon found it behind the bed, and at 2:59 a.m. went to the bathroom to begin the ritual. They followed each step carefully. Nick poked the doll and ran to hide. The TV was on and it was staticky. After laying in wait for a few minutes hiding, they were just about to get up when they heard footsteps. As they waited, the TV suddenly turned off by itself. They raced into the bathroom to find the Jeff doll wasn't where they'd left it in the sink. Instead, it was leering behind them. They finished the game out shouting, "I win, I win, I win," and throwing Jeff outside into the cold. The next day, the Redditor says he burned the doll, but he believes it continues to haunt him and his friends. They moved out of the house, he writes, but for some reason, each night he finds blue fluff on the ground. Number 3. Hiding the Living. Victoria09 shares her haunting tale of hide and seek from Westminster, Colorado. When she was 12, she was playing hide and seek with her aunt and 4-year-old cousin. The house they lived in at the time had a creepy vibe, like someone was staring at you. Victoria was the only one to hear or see things in the house, and it made her think she was going crazy. Things would be turned on when they were off before, like the radio or the lights, but no one thought anything of it. Anyway, back to the game. They started counting and then set out to find the 4-year-old. They looked everywhere and could not find her. A half hour had gone by and they had searched in every nook and cranny. They started getting worried and told the girl she had to come out now, repeating it over and over again. An hour later, and suddenly the girl ran out of one of the rooms they'd checked repeatedly. She said, "I was right here all this time." The room had known that in our culture, the passed away can hide the living by just stepping in front of them. Cue the chills. I bet Victoria never dared play hide and seek in that house again. Number 2. One Man Hide and Seek Part 2. Yet another detailed account of the ritual One Man Hide and Seek that we mentioned earlier. According to M33KS, creepy events unfolded even before the ritual had begun. When they were preparing the doll, sewing it up after filling it with rice, it purportedly began shaking. They took the step to smudge sage around the areas where they'd been completing the ritual, the bathroom, the living room, and the bedroom, in order to cleanse the space. They also put it on the soles of their feet, in their socks, and within their mouths. They lined the rooms they wouldn't be using with rock salt, as well as the mirrors, in order that the spirits would know these areas were off limits. During all this, they heard the sound of scuffling, then a door opening. They passed it off as maybe coming from the neighbor's house, but when the author opened the bedroom door, he backed right in, because the closet door had opened of its own accord outside. Regardless, they still wanted to move forward with the ritual. When things were all set, they began the ritual at 3 a.m. After doing the ritualistic steps and poking the doll, they went to hide. They heard sounds in the entrance of the kitchen and the bathroom. They filled their mouths with salt water and waited. Then they went to look. In the bathroom, the door bounced against the wall as it opened, again of its own accord. They spit their salt water on the doll, poked at it again, chanted, and then hid again. After waiting for the doll to look for them, they found it in the bathtub where they had left it and spit their salt water on it, chanting, "I win, I win, I win." They had filmed the whole ritual, and after cleaning up, they decided to watch the videos. When they turned the sound on, they heard a girl humming through the speakers. After turning the speakers off and on again, the humming stopped. The sound also started increasingly on its own, and the film itself had many noises they hadn't heard during the ritual, including a popping sound, banging, and shrieking. They also noted that at the start of filming, it sounds like someone whispers, "You listen to me." Well, that's spooky enough. When the author went into the bathroom, he found the doll had moved to the sink. While the author says he no longer feels presences in the house, he did hear a man laughing as he walked in his friend's home. 2 street lamps went out on the way, and the closet door had opened again when he returned. You better hurry up and burn that doll. Before we get to number 1, my name is Chills and I hope you're enjoying my narration. If you're curious about what I look like in real life, then go to my Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT and tap that follow button to find out. It's a proven fact that generosity makes you a happier person, so if you're generous enough to hit that subscribe button and the bell beside it, then thank you. This way, you'll be notified of the new video we upload every Tuesday. Number 1. Locked In. If only all of these stories could have one foot in fiction. Not this one. This is another real-life story that's sadly and unfortunately true. A Polish brother and sister were playing hide-and-seek while their parents napped. One a 5-year-old girl, the other a 3-year-old boy. When the parents could no longer hear the kids playing, they began their frantic search. One that ended when they found the boy had climbed into the washing machine in the bathroom and accidentally locked himself in. Heartbreakingly, in that short matter of time, the boy had passed out from lack of oxygen in the machine. Though the parents performed CPR and called paramedics, who also attempted to revive him for more than an hour, the boy passed away hours later after being in critical condition for a short period of time. A very sad accidental event. Thanks for checking out this video. Be sure to subscribe because we upload new countdowns every Tuesday and Saturday. Or if you're still not convinced, here are some of our other videos that I think you'd like. Enjoy!